Our program is hosted Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and each Sunday from 1:30 to 3 p.m. Call our toll-free number at 833-548-0276. Again, that's 833-548-0276. Dial in our meeting ID, which is 872-192-5979 #. Bypass the participant ID by pressing pound. And once you're in, raise your hand to ask your question by pressing star 9. When it's your turn to ask your question, dial star 6 to unmute yourself. You can also join via Zoom video by going to ebiblefellowship.org and clicking the icon at the top. If you're calling in from another country, on our website, select the toll-free button at the top to find your country's number.
Hello. Hi, Craig.
Hello, please. Yeah, please go ahead.
So I'm so grateful for the ministry of E-Bible Fellowship. Again, I believe it was last week was my first time calling, and my question was about the Reformed theology that I had fallen into after May 21st, and after so much time had went by. So, and God used you to give me the answer, and I'm sure many others, the answer that we so needed from the Bible. So again, I'm just so grateful for E-Bible. And I've been listening to so many of your studies that you have online, and oh my goodness, my soul is just being fed like it used to be, and I'm grateful for it. But I have a question about the book of Revelations, the mark of the beast in the forehead and in the hand. Could you kind of elaborate on that and let me know what that spiritually refers to?
Yeah, in Revelation 13, we read, well, first there's an image made to the beast, and then it says in verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, or it says of man, but it's actually of man, and his number is 666. So the image of the beast is set up, and this fits right in with what we read in Daniel chapter 3, when Nebuchadnezzar in the previous chapter had a dream of an image, and then he made a golden image in chapter 3 and set it up and commanded everyone must bow down and worship, and whoever would not bow down, they would be killed. And that's exactly what we read here, that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So we know the image of the beast has to do with Satan, and also the beast is a reference to Satan, and King Nebuchadnezzar is a type of Satan. And it has to do with the church, the corporate church. And the image that's set up is said to be, let's see, how's it put in? Well, I think it says it's a living image. I can't find it exactly. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Well, yeah, the image can speak, and and that would relate to the corporate church. Once Satan was loosed and he took his seat in the temple, showing himself that he was God, then the church, the whole church body, took upon itself his image. And what would that image be? That of the lie. He is the father of lies. Previously, the Spirit of Christ was within the corporate church, in the midst of it, and it could be characterized as being after Christ's image of truth. And so that's the transition that happened. And now everyone who is in the church will receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. The hand identifies with the will of a person, and the forehead is where the mind is. And in the Bible, mind, heart, and soul are synonymous. So what God is saying is, once the church age comes to an end and the Spirit of Christ departs out and Satan's spirit enters in, and again, he's seated, he's ruling now in the church, the only one who will be able to buy or sell, and to buy or sell would identify with sharing the gospel. The only people able to share the gospel are those whose will and soul are owned by Satan. Just the mark, similar to a brand that a rancher might put on his cattle. He brands it to indicate ownership. And so too with the mark of the beast. It's spiritual, of course. There's no actual physical mark, but spiritually, it's language to indicate Satan's ownership over all those within the corporate body that are teaching the gospel. And we can see how it can be a complete ownership, because again, those who taught the true gospel had been run out over the course of years, and then finally God revealed the end of the church age, commanding his people to get out, and anyone who was a faithful preacher or teacher would have departed out of the church, leaving only the tares, leaving only those who were never saved, and so they would give their allegiance to Satan in that way. They would bow the knee to the image, as again, looking at Daniel chapter 3 is very helpful, very helpful. There was a command made at what time you hear the playing of those musical instruments, and 4 different times the musical instruments were listed, and 3 of the times there were 6 musical instruments listed, like a dulcimer, harp, and sackbut, and so forth. And 6 of the musical instruments were listed on 3 occasions, but on a 4th occasion, only 5 musical instruments were listed. Now that's unusual, isn't it? That God took such care to make sure that all 6 were listed 3 out of the 4 times, but a 4th time, he forgot to list one. No, he didn't forget. He intentionally left it off. Well, why would he do that? Well, because now, if you add them up, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 5, you get 23. 23 references to musical instruments, because it's teaching about the Great Tribulation, which is typified, or the actual duration is 23 years. And so at the time these musical instruments are playing during that 23-year Great Tribulation period, the command is given: bow down to the golden image that has been set up. Bow down. You have to. Actually, I was in a church. My wife and I, our family, and other family radio listeners, and it was a church that believed in the head covering, and I didn't think it was necessary for a woman to cover her head physically. I thought it was God, and it is God teaching something spiritual. And yet in that church, well, you could not partake of the Lord's Supper, and there were some other things too that a woman who did not put on the head covering was affected by. And I remember some people who listened to family radio at the time just saying, "Oh, it's such a little thing." And a couple of these people were, they were in some positions of authority at family radio. And it's just a little thing. He's not asking you to do any big deal. Just put on the head covering, they would tell my wife. And you see, what they didn't understand is when it comes to the Bible, there is no little thing. Everything is big. And it's a typical tactic of Satan to just make as though something's not all that important in order to find the crack, in order to find that spot where he's going to place the edge of the wedge. And once you start down that road, you give him that little crack, down comes the hammer blow, and the whole piece is shattered. And that's typically how he works. But there was various things like that going on in the churches, making it very uncomfortable in one way or another for God's elect, where we couldn't worship, and we had to, if we were to worship with the rest, we would have to bend the knee. We would have to begin submitting to these kinds of things. And by God's grace, he helped us when he commanded, get out, depart out of the midst. And that was a blessing.
Praise to God for guiding us, trusting in His word the way. Thanks to God for guiding us, leading us through Judgment Day. He will